Hello, I didn't see you there. Welcome to my Coldplay Corner. Today I'm reading the Mylo Xyloto comics, all 6 issues. Do you want to hear about them? No. What? Oh, good, you're back. Okay, so we can talk about these now. This is issue 1 of Mylo Xyloto, which is called Color is Crime. So that tells you a little bit about what goes on in these comics. Color is crime. Now, if you've watched my previous Mylo Xyloto comics video, you know that there is an issue 0, the prologue to the comics, and issue 0 is the Car Kids, but it's also the Hurts Like Heaven music video. So go watch that. I won't talk about that here. We'll get started with this. And we start off this comic series thusly. In a cold, dark corner of the universe lies the world of Silencia, home to 1.4 billion Silencians, and the 13 Irdoks that have guided and expanded their world in a myriad of ways, with a promise of safety and opulence. And, maintaining the rule of law, the Silencers, a military police made up of natives conditioned from infancy to enforce the Irdoks' fundamental rule of governance, calm, or chromatic and acoustic level minimization. For this world lives in constant fear of a deadly enemy drawn to sound and color, the Eaters. Luckily for them, the city has a salvation, the Hypnofeed, a calming diversion for every citizen. But even the distraction of the Hypnofeed can't quell the gripping fear of an attack by the dreaded Eaters. So right from the start, we are introduced to so much vocabulary for this series. We have Silencia, which is the setting for this entire comic series, is a planet called Silencia, which is kind of weird that it was called Silencia from the beginning, or I don't remember. Maybe we'll find out throughout the course of these breakdowns whether or not Silencia was called Silencia before the Silencers were set up. But anyway, so the native inhabitants of Silencia are the Silencians, and then we have the Irdoks, who are an alien race that have come to Silencia, and since their arrival have sort of taken over. Well, not sort of, they've completely taken over. And in taking over, they've established their own sort of military police force, the Silencers, and this sort of very pervasive rumor of a creature called an Eater, which, if there's any sound or color out in public, that attracts the Eaters. If the Eaters come, well, they're called Eaters for a reason. There's a lot of vocabulary to learn in this comic series here, but a lot of it is also very straightforward. But of course, the Silencians are not creatures meant to live in silence and desaturation. So the Irdoks created this Hypnofeed, which is kind of like a VR streaming service for the Silencians to be consumed by, basically, so that they forget how dreary the world around them actually is, to sort of satisfy their need for color and sound without it existing out in the real world. Again, because the Eaters. So pretty quickly in this first issue, we're then introduced to the titular character, Mylo Xyloto, who himself has become a silencer. We know from the Hurts Like Heaven music video that his parents, Aiko and Layla, were actually part of the opposition, and that they were taken away when he was very young, and then he grew up to be a silencer instead. We also get to meet Rex, who's Mylo's best friend. So we start off with our introduction to Mylo, where we learn some more vocabulary about sparkers and sparks. So sparkers are those rebels, such as the car kids. And spark is the magical graffiti that they put up. So this is graffiti, but also has some sound to it. And we see some examples of these sparks, such as the eaters are a lie, hypno brainwash, major minus is not your friend. So really setting up, that. So obviously, in a world where sound and color is pretty much forbidden, that is how the rebels rebel, by putting up this musical graffiti. We also learn in the beginning here that Mylo is not only a silencer who came from Sparker parents, but also he is currently pretty addicted to the Hypnofeed himself. So we can tell that's going to cause him some problems later on. And then we are introduced to Major Minus. He is one of the Irdoks who are on this planet now. He is in control of the silencers, and he is also sort of public-facing. In terms of the Hypnofeed, he introduces different programs and talks to the people and makes them think, everything's great as long as you keep your Hypnofeed on and don't make noise and don't bring color out into the world. So we get to see Major Minus in that role, addressing the general population of Silencia, and then we get to see him addressing the silencers specifically. In addressing the silencers, Major Minus expresses his displeasure at how few sparkers they've caught lately, and there's one sparker in particular who seems to be the leader. Her name is Fly, so there's that. And so in order to incentivize the silencers to do their freaking jobs and go out and catch the sparkers, especially Fly, Major Minus announces that whoever does catch her and brings her to him will be rewarded with free Hypnofeed for life. Uninterrupted Hypnofeed for life. So, of course, a lot of the silencers are really interested in that, and particularly Mylo is very interested in that. And he has a little bit of a flashback to kind of that scene we saw at the end of the Hurts Like Heaven video, where his parents are being taken away. And he's got nothing going for him as a kid, I guess. So yeah, Mylo is really interested in getting this free Hypnofeed for life, and he's also kind of interested in just not being a silencer anymore. He doesn't really want to be doing it. He just is doing it. And then we get to see, because no big bad is really it. There's always a bigger fish, right? And so we get to see Major Minus face off to his bosses, which is all the other Irdoks who are on Silencia right now. So it's like this council of Irdoks who he answers to. And they are also very unhappy about the sparkers not being caught. And the other thing, too, is that there is some kind of deadline the Irdoks are very antsy about, and they're kind of demanding a lot of Major Minus here. Can he do it? He explains to them that he has a new invention to help them accomplish their goals, which is not the Hypnofeed, but the Hypno Flow. And the Hypno Flow is like the Hypnofeed, but it's a wireless contraption. So instead of having to be sat in a specific spot hooked up to something and then have the helmet on to access the Hypnofeed, this is like a wearable Hypnofeed that you can go anywhere and not have to worry about being plugged in. But Major Minus insists that they can only transition to the Hypno Flow once all the sparks have been extinguished. So, of course, that makes his statement to the silencers more obvious why he needs them all taken out, so that they can transition to the Hypno Flow and take over even more, brainwash the Silencians even further. Now, at the very end of the issue is this beautiful spread here, which is one of the first connections that we get to some lyrics from the album, which is "This Could Be Paradise." And this spark is discovered by, of course, Mylo. And we can see he is absolutely stunned by this spark here. He is like crying as he sees it and grinning wildly. He is so enraptured by the spark that he actually removes one of his gloves and touches it. That's not good. That's not going to go well for him at any point. Well, it will eventually, but at first it's not going to be good. But he quickly puts his glove back on because he hears a noise off to the side and finds the sparker, presumably the sparker responsible for this spark, and starts to chase after them. So they're running through, kind of similar to all the chases in the Hurts Like Heaven video. At the very end, this sparker goes through a rooftop door, disappears, but just before they disappear, Mylo catches a glimpse through his sight on his gun and sees that, in fact, this person is Fly, the sparker leader. And everyone's shocked that she's a girl, because girls can't be leaders, apparently. There you go. That's Mylo Xyloto, Issue 1, Color is Crime. If you want to learn more about the Mylo Xyloto comics, well, I'm doing an entire series of this breakdown, so go check out the next video if it's up already, or I have a video talking about the Mylo Xyloto comics in comparison to the album, and how do the stories help give each other context. I would love to keep discussing the lore of Mylo Xyloto with you, so let me know in the comments. Do you think you would be a Sparker or a Silencer? Or an Irdok? Let me know. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace out.